Second, everybody. Hello, I'm very glad to be back to Recreation Therapist Corner interviews. I had the chance to interview two inspiring ladies, Krista Banks, a recreation therapist from Sarnia, Ontario, and Mary Rockwood Lane, an artist and nurse of Florida. And today I will have another great woman. I'm very honored to be able to meet her and to interview her. Her name is Rozalyn Werner-Arcé. She is Executive Director of TRO, Therapeutic Recreation Ontario, and has had an extensive experience in association management through her career. I believe it's going to be a great opportunity to students and professionals to hear our conversation. And if you have any questions, please send us on the chat. So, welcome.
Hi there. How are you?
I am good. I am good. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I'm very happy to be able to meet you and to share your experience with the audience. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Fernanda, for asking me, and I'm just delighted to be here. It's great. It's my first podcast, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, okay. If you could start introducing yourself and your throw role, it could be great.
Sure. So I have been with Therapeutic Recreation Ontario as the executive director for about 5.5 years now. They have flown by. It's such an exciting and fun organization to lead. It's been a really great opportunity, and I get to know great people like you, Fernanda.
Thank you. I read an article where you said one of the biggest challenges of the therapeutic recreation profession is that it's one of the most misunderstood healthcare professions. I agree, that's so true. And when I decided to create this virtual space, one of my goals was to help in some way, to explain, to promote the profession, bring people from the area, and how do you think we could help to make this profession understandable and recognize it?
Mm-hmm. So I think that has to happen in two different levels. So as Therapeutic Recreation Ontario, the provincial association that represents 1,800 practitioners, educators, and students in the province, we have a role through awareness and advocacy to employers and to government and to other stakeholders, allied stakeholders who may have an interest in therapeutic recreation. So we need to be promoting the profession to employers, and even more importantly, promoting the designation to employers and letting them know it's really setting a high standard of excellence in the profession. With government, we've actually, if anybody has read their ETRO or their advocacy alert update they got today in their email, we've been doing a lot of advocacy in the month of November, raising awareness with government about therapeutic recreation. And the first couple of meetings that we had related to TR in long-term care, and that we really want to be collaborative solution seekers and work with government. And it's so interesting you use that phrase, because I'll tell you, we had a meeting with the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility. And Mark DeMontis, a policy person there, when I was first introducing ourselves, he said, "Oh, I know all about therapeutic recreation. I've actually had experience with it. And that was so exciting. And I said to him, you know, therapeutic recreation is one of the most misunderstood and least understood healthcare professions. And his head was nodding up and down. And so he was so excited to meet with us. So, you know, it needs to be happening on that level. And then I think it also needs to happen from what therapeutic recreation professionals themselves. So promoting the professions within your own personal networks, within your clients, patients, residents, helping them understand what the role is, and even right down to, you know, if we were going to be having a Christmas dinner with family and your Aunt Mary said, "So, Fernanda, what is it you're going to school for?" You need to be able to tell them in plain language that they will understand what therapeutic recreation is all about. So it really needs to happen on both levels. And I'm going to tell you, so one thing where it's really been spotlighted actually is through this pandemic. And so we have been writing to media and on social media, talking about the role of therapeutic recreation professionals and how, you know, the important role that they have played in supporting in treating and caring for their patients and clients and residents. But it's even just as important, if not more important, for practitioners and students like yourself to be advocating to be writing letters to the local newspaper. When you see a story about long-term care, we should be writing a story to the editors and telling the story about the role of rec therapy. And I'm going to tell you, we have a fantastic example of that happening. So on the CBC's The Current Show, it's a national current affairs show. They did an episode on long-term care, and they had residents on speaking about what life was like for them. And out of all the hundreds of letters and feedback and social media, et cetera, all of that they CBC received, they chose one person to interview, and it was a rec therapist down in Niagara Falls area. You know, there was something about her letter that was so compelling that they said, we have got to have this woman come on and talk about what rec therapy is. So, you know, that's where the difference is going to be made.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to talk about the importance of being a member of TRO. We have a lot of students graduating next year. So could you tell us about the importance of being a member and what the features and benefits of being a member of TRO?
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned, we have over 1,800 practitioners, educators, and students who are members of Therapeutic Recreation Ontario. And, you know, the benefits of being part of the professional association there's many of them. So, first of all, as a student, you get a free membership through your education institution. So I would encourage every student who's a member to activate your free membership, because then you're going to have access to information, first of all. Like information is power, right? And so you're going to have access to information through our biweekly e-news. That's where we talk about things like the advocacy work that we're doing, where we talk about professional development opportunities, where we talk about what's happening within the profession. There's even job opportunities that are posted through the e-news. So that's one reason. Unless you're a member, you aren't going to get that e-news. But even more so, you know, you're part of a larger community. You are part of that 1,800 people strong who have made a commitment to the profession. and said, this is so important to me, and it's really important that we have a strong advocacy voice, that I want to support my profession. I want to be part of it. I want to have my voice heard. And then there's other things too, like you have access to professional development opportunities, and you can get, so students get a fantastic price, discounted price. So for example, we just held our annual conference in October, and the price for professional members was $175, and for students it was $99, and you get access to 3 half days of amazing education. So that's another great reason to be connected to TRO. It's really about being part of that community of like-minded people all working towards the same goal.
Yeah.
And it says to your employer too, like that of your commitment to your profession. And the other thing that TRO has, and I think this is really a wonderful feature of Therapeutic Recreation Ontario. So one of the reasons TRO was founded was to work towards becoming a regulated health profession. And as part of that journey, some of the original, or the original members of TRO saw the need to set a standard of excellence in the profession. And so it took a number of years. It took a lot of volunteer brain power, long hours, sweat and tears, I'm sure, to create a designation. So we have the RTRO and the RTRO DIP designation. That's members can earn. They have to earn points in 4 categories. So it's not something like you can just buy, or when you become a member, you get the designation. No, people have to prove that they have the qualifications to qualify for that designation. And when I talked about the hard work and sweat and tears that people put into this, so we still have a volunteer committee that oversees the designation. They review the applications every application period, and it takes tremendous effort. But these are volunteers who are so committed to the profession and to ensuring that we have practitioners who are practicing at a high standard, and so it's just amazing that there's such a high volunteer involvement and people hold it in such high regard.
Mm-hmm. I have seen a creative initiative of recreation therapist program at Algonquin College, offering virtual placements.
Mm-hmm.
Patricia, the program coordinator, along with Tanya, the placement monitor, developed the virtual placements. And I watched a seminar online provided by TRO today in the morning with Patricia and Tanya, talking about the project. That was so inspiring. It's so great to see when educators and teachers are passionate about their profession, and it makes all the difference in students' learning experience, perspectives, and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also seen some agencies bringing virtual recreation activities to their residents. I had a chance to do some virtual concerts at long-term care facilities, and it went so well. I feel it's so important. Preventing the spread of COVID, it's crucial, but we have to promote the well-being of the residents. So I would like to hear from you regarding the importance of virtual programs, and also if you have heard or seen some interesting projects that have been implemented during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. So you've said it very well. It is so important. Government has placed, and rightly so, a great emphasis on keeping residents safe, taking care of their physical safety, because they're so vulnerable when it comes to the COVID virus. But what's gotten forgotten is I think what's gotten forgotten is people's well-being, their emotional, social, mental health well-being. And so we've spent a lot of time advocating for that with government, and we see, like, we've heard stories from residents saying it's like being in jail. I'm not allowed to leave my room. They're eating dinner in their rooms, or they're only allowed to come out to and socially distance dinner and then back to their room. And it's so important, rec therapy, in taking care of people's well-being. And so, talking about some of the virtual programs. So it's really interesting. So it's happening in a couple of different ways. So in long-term care, there's different ways of doing that. So everything from doing hallway bingo. I've heard of hallway bingo happening. I've heard of staff are working hard to support people so they can do their virtual visits with family members. Things like I've heard music programs happening virtually as well. So that's really kind of interesting. And then I was talking yesterday with one of our members, Beth Farrell, who runs a program called Third Age Outreach in London. And it's a day program, day center for seniors in the city of London. And so her Third Aid Outreach works with other community partners to offer residents London residents ways to get connected. And so they run all kinds of really great programs, like an aquatic program and Grey Matters and all of that sort of thing. And of course, with COVID, that came to a stop. So after Bev got redeployed back to the hospital, and then when she was released from that, she came back to her program and she said, look, we have got to connect people online, because people were at home by themselves, scared to go out. And so they're doing all kinds of interesting things in terms of reaching out to her program participants and connecting them virtually through different programs. So there's ways to do that using programs like Java group programs, making sure that they have connected citizens who are looking, who could be like a pen pal to a resident. So they've done lots of really interesting things too. And so what's really neat is we're seeing really neat stuff happening in long-term care, and then we're also seeing it happening out in the community too. And we also have, when COVID first started, we started what we call TR Talks, Tuesday TR Talks. And so that was a time over the lunch hour for anybody who to call in who was working in rec therapy to say, hey, here's some cool program ideas that we're doing, or I'm stumped, I've got a problem, or, just to connect, because it was a scary time for us. And so we started to collect resources, and we have a whole resource page on our website of all different kinds of program ideas that people can implement in their homes. So there's lots of resources out there.
And is the virtual placement will be a reality from now on? What do you think?
Well, so you know what? This is really interesting, right? I think I sat in on that webinar today too that Patricia and Tanya did. And what was so interesting, I thought, was that both students and participants said, like, oh, I kind of wasn't sure about it in the beginning, but they were still able to make that kind of connection. And so if you think about even seniors who are living in rural communities, transportation is an issue. And so how are they, could be difficult for them to get connected, right? And so virtual programs, virtual outreach to those folks, I think it's part of the future. And I think the other thing too is, the federal government is forming a committee of researchers to take a look at how to reduce the number of admissions to long-term care by 20% by 2031. And so you just think, like, it's the start of the baby boomers now, right? And government cannot continue to provide the same kind of services, long-term care, for example, for baby, like there's just so many baby boomers coming. And so how are we going to do that? And I think that virtual programming and community supports is the future, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and I think even if out of COVID, it can be an alternative, a complement, right? And do
Absolutely.
have both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Or you could just
I love the idea of Patricia and Tanya. I'm so excited.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you just think, like, even if you're in the city, but if you don't have the supports, or if you have some physical challenges that might prevent you from getting around easily, to have this kind of virtual support uh, is, I think it's really valuable, and it gives people purpose, which is one of the things that TR does. There's this other organization, I don't know if you know about it, Connected Canadians. And they're based out of Ottawa, but they work all across the country. And with the support of volunteers, their mandate is to get seniors connected digitally. And so, they have volunteers who will get on the phone and walk someone through how to start up a computer, how to do a search on Google, how to organize a video conference. Those kinds of resources are so important.
Yes, for sure. There's one question from Susan, and she's asking if RT is a profession in demand.
So that's an interesting question. And I'm going to say it's a little tricky to answer. So there are definitely jobs out there. It all depends what sector you're talking about as well. So if you're looking at long-term care, they tend to have been in the past part-time roles, some full-time, but a lot of part-time roles. And but I think that has to change in the future, and I think we're starting to see that now, just even with the government directive around staff can only work in one home. And so they're going to need to take a look at that in the future. And so that, because what was happening is, PSWs or rec therapists, they might work in a couple of different homes in order to create a full-time salary, right? And so I think that is something that is going to have to change in the future, and that's something certainly that we are raising awareness with the provincial government about, is in terms of yes, we definitely see the value of nursing and personal care. We think the commitment of 4 hours a day is so important. My mom is in long-term care, and she says her shower goes by so fast she doesn't even know she got wet. Right? And it's not the PSW's fault. It's because they have so much, they don't have any time to do it. The challenge is then, so people get up in the morning, they've had their breakfast, they're up and dressed, it's 9 o'clock, And then what do they do with the rest of their day? And that's really where residents experience the full value of therapeutic recreation. And that's how we're positioning it with government too. Like, come 9 o'clock, what do they do the next 16, 18 hours of their day? And that's why rec therapy is so important. Otherwise, people are feeling isolated, they get depressed, they feel abandoned, all those things.
Yes. And would you have some tips and or advices for students seeking their first job, and we can understand they are a little bit concerned regarding getting jobs with this COVID. So would you have some tips?
Sure. So I think, first of all, start to build yourself a network. So what do I mean by that? I mean, therapeutic recreation is still a relatively young profession and small profession. And you would be surprised at who knows who. And so I would say, start to volunteer with therapeutic recreation and get to know rec therapists who are already out there. Uh, Activate your membership with Therapeutic Recreation Ontario, because we have employers posting jobs with us. And so I would say in almost every issue, there's 2 or 3 job postings in our e-news. So, you want to be aware of that. And even if you're not looking right now, I suggest you start looking at those job postings. What is it employers are looking for? They might be looking for your education. So they want to know that you have education in therapeutic recreation. Maybe they're looking for additional certifications as well. And I know in a number of different schools, they offer the opportunities for students to become registered with TRO. Some schools will actually walk students through. Here's how you fill out your application to become registered. So when they graduate, they're just about ready to apply for their designation. So you can just imagine, an employer has 20 resumes in front of them. What is it that's going to make yours stand out? And so if they see, oh, wow, this person just graduated 6 months ago and they've got their designation, that tells me they're really committed and to their profession and, serious about what they want to do. So I think, build a network. So volunteer with TRO, volunteer in your local community, get to know rec therapists, participate in social media. As I said, activate your membership with TRO and read your e-news, prepare for your designation. So when you're going for an interview, you can talk about, what you're seeing around in the profession, both as a frontline practitioner and what you see coming down the road, and what other skills and certificates and education can you bring to that role that makes you stand out.
Yeah, perfect. Is there something else you would like to share with us? We are ready at the end. So is there something else I didn't ask you
Well,
and you can share with us?
I think that therapeutic recreation, I'm one of those people who really had never heard of it before I began to work for the Association, Fernanda. And I feel so lucky, so honored to work with such amazing people. And so I'm gonna recommend to people, stick with it. It is a wonderful profession. You're doing good work for the people you're going to be supporting and working with and treating in the future. And get involved with your association. Become part of the bigger community.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. I really
Well,
appreciate. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be an important source for people to search And
I hope so. And they can reach out to us anytime. We're happy to connect with students anytime.
and thank you all for watching us. This interview will be available on Facebook and YouTube, so please share with your friends, classmates, teachers. I'm sure they will enjoy to listen to Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
They don't want to let us know, to let us go.